Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I get to share with you a project for Gerda Steiner Designs, and we're going to be using a stamp set called You Lift Me Up. It's a cute little stamp set that has a little piggy, and that also has a balloon. The piggy is wrapped up with some twine, and it's meant to be the balloon string, so you can make it as long as you want, which is fantastic. And you can use real string if you want, or you can use a pen to create your own string. There is a sentiment that continues off of You Lift Me Up, and it says, thank you for that. And so it's perfect for the inside of your card as well. We're going to start off, instead of doing coloring with my Copic markers or my Zig markers, I thought we would do a little coloring with my Oxide inks. So to do that, I need to create a mask. So I stamped the image on some Gina Masking Magic, and then I'm also stamping it on some Neenah 80-pound cardstock. I'm going to do the same thing with the balloon, and we're going to create a mask for that. And we're also going to stamp this 2 times on another piece of cardstock. Now, when I'm stamping on my mask, I'm making sure that my mask is large enough to leave me a little bit of room on the outside, because we're going to use the negative part of the mask. We're not going to use the positive part. Once my balloons are all stamped, we are going to do some fussy cutting. I'm going to cut all the way to the edge. Now, when I cut my mask, I'm only creating 1 cut line. Now this is going to help me when I use the negative portion of the mask. The more cut lines you have, the more chances you have of adding color to your cardstock where you don't want it. So just continuing with my cut line, I'm going around my entire balloon here, and including the balloon bottom, and then you can see I only have 1 cut line. Now I'm not going to use the positive. We're going to keep that though. We'll keep that in the stamp set for future use. But we're going to do the same exact thing with the little piggy here. Just 1 cut line, continuing around the entire edge, and then we're going to use the negative pieces. We'll just remove the release paper here. The nice thing about this masking paper is there's a cut line on the masking paper, so it makes it easy to peel. I'm going to line it up around my balloon, and just making sure that my cut line is sandwiched together as if there was no cut line at all. Now, next we're going to take some Oxide ink. I'm going to use 2 shades. We're going to start off with Twisted Citron, and I'm going to color in my balloon green. Then I'm going to bring in a darker ink, which is Peeled Paint, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shading to the right side of my balloon. This is going to give me 2 tones of green, but it's going to give me a lot of dimension. If you're not big on masking off, you don't have to do this. It's just whenever I do use my Oxide inks to color, usually I'm fussy cutting, and I don't want my ink to go outside of my stamp line. I just think it looks cleaner, but you don't have to. You can have a green outside edge if you wanted to. I'm going to do the exact same thing, but this time we're going to bring in some different shades of ink. I'm going to start off with Squeeze Lemonade. Just take my blending brush and go around here, and then once I have my Squeeze Lemonade, I was worried about the green transferring, but it worked out pretty good. I'm going to do a little darker shading with Fossilized Amber, which is a darker yellow, more of a golden yellow, and just adding shading to that right side. And then all you have to do is remove your masking paper, and you have a nice dimensional balloon that's colored in. Easy peasy. So there's my 2 balloons. Now I'm going to keep my masking paper only because for future use I can I think I have a couple more uses out of it. So I'm just going to put the release paper back on my negative piece, and then I can just keep this with my stamp set. Now we're going to work on our little piggy here. For the piggy, I'm going to do basically, oh no, we're going to add some shimmer. Got ahead of myself. I was going to use water to activate the ink, but I thought, let's add a little sparkle. I'm going to use some Sparkle Shimmer Spritz. And my bottle is almost out, so I had to tilt it a certain way to get that spray on there. It adds a subtle sparkle and not too much, and that's what I liked about this. So we have a little sparkle on our balloons. Now we're going to color in our little piggy, doing this basically the exact same thing. we're just gonna remove the release paper off of our mask carefully, because there's only one cut line, and it's, especially around the tail, it was a little intricate. Okay, next, before we adhere our mask, I thought we'd better go ahead and color in the hooves of our little piggy. So I'm just using some warm gray markers. I'm using a C7 and a C5 and doing a little shading. Once our hooves are colored in, we'll take our mask and just kind of line it up around the outside edge, same way we did our balloons, and mask off the rest of our little piggy hair. We're going to color in this guy with some pinks, of course. We're going to use worn lipstick. That's going to be our main color. And then over the little snout and the tushy of our little pig, we're going to add a little bit of a darker pink, which is picked raspberry. Now, after I did this, there's two options that could have fixed what I'm doing just now. After I added my Oxide ink, since it is like a chalky ink, going over my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, it very, very dulled down that black ink. I didn't like that. I wanted my piggy to be a little bit more vibrant. So there's two things I could have did. I could have put clear embossing. I could have stamped it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, added clear embossing powder, and then when I did my inking, I could have just buffed away the ink on the embossed area. Or I could do what I'm doing right now. I'm going to do a redo. I'll take some white cardstock, put it in my MISTI. It's just Nina 80-pound cardstock. We'll take our little guy again, put him on our panel. We'll pick him up with the lid of our MISTI, and then I'm going to stamp him with Memento ink. Stamp a few times, get those glasses nice and dark. And then I'm going to keep him inside my MISTI. We'll just remove our panel here, and then we're going to do the same thing, same coloring. I'll add my mask. And color in the hooves first, and then I'm going to add my mask. And then basically we're going to do the exact same thing, same coloring, but when I'm finished, I can put my panel back inside my MISTI and re-stamp with the ink, crisping up that ink that the Oxide ink went over. So here's what it looks like, same as the first one. We'll just remove our mask. We'll take our MISTI, place it back in. Since we didn't move our little piggy, he's in the same position. I'll just ink him up, this time with VersaFine ink. It's a more crisp black ink. And I'll stamp him, and you can see how vivid and bright he comes back to life. So you can either emboss him or do what I did here when you color with your Oxide inks. And you know what, hindsight, I should have did the balloons the exact same way, but the balloons weren't so bad. Okay, they're all fussy cut out. I did leave a little bit of a white border. Now I'm going to add some black twine behind my balloons. I'm going to secure it with some foam adhesive. We'll just trim the tail here and then add some more twine to our second balloon. Lovely. Trim the tail here. So our balloons are ready to go. And then I'm going to take that same twine and wrap it around a couple times. Wrap it around my little piggy here, just to give it a little bit added texture. The lines are perfect on the little piggy, but I just wanted a little bit more texture on him. So I'm going to wrap him around 3 times, secure it with my tape runner on the back, and then I can add a foam adhesive behind here. So he's ready to go. Okie dokie. Now what we're going to do is die cut out a panel. This is a stitched rectangle die that's going to cut me out a panel that's 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then I have some 3 cloud dies. I'm going to die cut out basically 5 clouds. We're going to create a cloudy background as if our little guy's up in the air. Instead of putting white on white, I'm going to add a little bit of Oxide ink in the color Tumbled Glass to the very bottom of my clouds. This is going to be subtle, but it's going to just make them pop a little bit against my white background. Okay, we're going to arrange our little balloons. These balloons are on the larger side, so my yellow one I wanted to be off of my panel We're going to first adhere our green one. And you notice too that I did only add foam adhesive down the center of my balloon. This way I could tuck. I have enough room for tucking here. Okay, we're going to trim off our yellow balloon. And I have that little piece I'm going to trim off on the inside there. Okay. Next we're going to add our little guy, our little piggy. I wanted the strings, of course, to be attached to him, so I'm going to remove the release paper and kind of fiddle around with my strings. I wanted the two ends to be right underneath the top of my little guy here. I think that looks great. Now we're going to arrange our little balloons. Now 2 of our balloons I want to stamp the sentiment on, but the rest of them I'm going to pop up with foam adhesive. The balloon that's on top of my green or the cloud that's on top of my green balloon, we're going to stamp our sentiment on, and then the one right above our piggy we'll use the large one here. So let's stamp our sentiment with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, but I'm going to split my sentiment into 2 different sections. I wanted the U on my cloud that's on the green balloon, so we're going to mask off Lift Me Up, just using my purple tape here. We'll mask it off, add our ink, and then we'll remove that tape, and then we can stamp that in the center of that cloud here. Lovely. And then we're going to do basically the same exact thing with the Lift Me Up, only we're going to mask off the U part. Once that's ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and adhere my panel to my card base, which is a standard A2 size card base. And then I'm going to add a little sparkle with my Nuvo glitter, or these are not glitter drops, these are actually stickles, Ranger stickles in silver. And I only added it a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and highlight the rump of my piggy, his little ear and his front leg here with my white gel pen. And then both of the balloons will add a little highlight too, so they stand out against that white background. And then that completes my card today, guys. Our little piggy floating up through the air. Now I am going to stamp the inside of our sentiment. That's a nice thing. Sorry about my phone. But I'm going to stamp thank you for that on the inside, and then we're done. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. I wish you a lovely day, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.